You were probably not only just a chef, but like a damn good chef. And I'm curious what led from being just like a Michelin star chef versus what you do now.
Well, the biggest thing was,
I'm curious like what you value in building community and how have you built it so far?
often we want a better place to live in. We want better cars, more money, more this. But I mean, we forget about the main thing.
For the person that is stuck in that job, they're experiencing burnout, but they can't leave it because they have a family. What do you tell that person? I'm curious if you feel like a gifting from God that like you're starting to tap into and go, oh, I haven't fully explored that yet. And maybe like I'm doing what I'm called to do. Hey, it's Adam, and you're listening to the Adam Cobb Show. Weekly content devoted to all things fitness, finding your center, and fumbling through fatherhood. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. We hope this is a space that you come to, that you can feel connected. We're better together. Please subscribe and follow all of our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. Welcome to the Adam Cobb Show. I'm here joined by my guest, Fred Reyes. Fred, number one, I love you. Number two, everybody watching and listening should love you too. And here's why. Fred, professionally as a master chef, now opening up his coffee shop where he just builds community, and a coffee shop owner and looking to always build. That's probably the professional piece of things. The personal piece for me is that just generosity, that warmth that you greet people with, the fire that you have inside that we've trained together, ran together, lifted together, pulled a tire together, and prayed together. We've not spent tons of time together, but the time we've spent has always been deep, and we go down, not wide. And I love that about you. And I want to be able to have this conversation with you today and sort of just examine and observe. And I'm just really curious to know more about your life and be able to share that on this show. So thank you for saying yes, man.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for that description, and it's a truly honor to be here and to be invited into your show and to spend some time here talking about great stuff.
Yeah.
And yes, like you said, every time we see each other, we know where we stand and we know what type of warriors we are, and we just go to work and we have fun doing the things that we like. And we dive into it with zero hesitation, and we know that time is important, so we respect that.
Now, here's the thing, like, I don't know if you heard that, like what type of warriors we are, right? Like, can you just unpack that a little bit? Like, what would make you use the word, and we know what type of warriors we are? Because I love that moment. And I just want to hear more about that, because I believe that has a really nice connection to the fire that literally just burns inside of you, but I can always see in your eyes. And I'm like, oh, I love that fire, Fred. I mean, it can be first thing in the morning, when I'm getting a coffee at your coffee shop and I see it first thing. Never mind, doesn't mean we don't need to be running or doing some physical thing. I always see it. So if you could just share with me how you, in your description, use the word warrior and just what you mean by that.
Well, I feel that with time, warriors have changed and times have changed. And when I say warriors is because there are many, many types of leaders and leadership and everything. But when you're always ready for business and we're always taking care of yourself, when you're always self-loving yourself, then you know that that's what you do, and you become this warrior that fights against everything that comes their way. So that's why I use the term warrior, because you're fighting all the adversities coming towards you. You're fighting all the obstacles that are coming towards you. And it's not necessarily being aggressive. Yes, you have to be aggressive sometimes in the way you move, which means you have to sometimes react quickly. And that's what I mean by being aggressive, like not hesitating to take the time to think or overthink what you're trying to say or do. I feel like understanding those things come in a big factor, And sometimes what happens is you make a decision, and you have to stand and look at that decision pass in front of you to see if it was a good or bad decision, right? Yeah. So if it's a bad decision, what are you going to do? Are you going to be sad about it? Are you going to fix it? Or are you going to sit and wait to see what's the next thing that's going to happen, right? So you always have to be retraining yourself and reprogramming yourself to know how you're going to be defeating all this adversity that's coming towards you.
Let me expand on that and ask a question on that. I think you were reaching for something.
Yeah, for mine.
Well, I just want to, obviously, under this shirt, sort of for you, but for me, we're talking about 1, warrior, 2, adversity. I don't know if there were many people that were more of a warrior that had to face more adversity
than Muhammad
Ali.
Yeah.
So just a little extra love to Muhammad Ali in this moment. What were you going to say?
Muhammad Ali happens to be my favorite boxer of all times. Just because of the way he was charismatic, confident. He knew he was powerful because he knew he was doing his homework when he was alone. And when it was time to showcase, he brought the show and he understood his position. And for me, he was the greatest just because of how much people loved him. And to this day, I feel like learning boxers to come are going to love his story and the way he was, because that's a human being that we, till this day, we've not seen put it together like the way he did in the world of boxing.
Yeah. So we're talking about this concept of fire in your eyes, warrior, adversity, right? And I want to hear about, people watching this. For people that are watching this, they get to see you. They get to see you're not even flexing, Fred. Your left bicep, that is just, let me just be clear. There is vascular definition underneath that shirt that's ripping through. Okay. It might be like a little rib, but there's a vein in there. Okay, guys. My whole point is, it looks like, you got it all together, man. I'm talking about the fire in your eyes. You bring this intensity, right? Muhammad Ali is one of your heroes. And I want to just have a little pivot moment here. And I want to hear about a moment in your life that you experienced maybe the most adversity. And I want to hear about that moment, a moment of adversity for you that really put you to a test.
Oof.
And I just want to hear about that moment and actually about the hardness of that moment.
Well, that's a great question. And I'll have to think about that for a second, because
we have time.
As I feel like life is full of adversity. And if you're thinking that in the future you're not going to face it, then, in my opinion, that's a mistake. But one that comes to my mind that really made a change in my life is when I lost my dad. I lost my dad when I was a kid. And I remember my last memory of my dad was closing the coffin, yes, and saying goodbye to him for forever, pretty much, And from that moment on, I've learned that I was gonna be alone, and that there was gonna be a lot of challenges coming my way, because I was no longer protected or no longer had that father in my life that was going to be helping me or assisting when I needed the help. So I feel that me growing up without the guidance, it's been like the way I've become the best example of adversity in my opinion. Making sure that I was listening to my mom, because she was a single parent, and that was very hard to witness, her struggles, keeping up with the house. So the last thing I wanted to do was to give her more problems, right? So going to school, doing all these things and not getting in trouble, like trying to stay as clean as possible, trying to stay in that lane. It's not that it was hard. It was just like I understood that was what's necessary to be done in order for me to get to the next level.
For adversity, for your dad passing away.
Yes.
To be the moment of that you mentioned for adversity, I'm curious to even just take a moment to honor him. And one, like, what was his name?
My dad's name was Felipe Reyes.
And can you tell and share a story about Felipe
Well,
that sort of embodies who he was?
Well, the ones that I remember, because I was a kid at the time, and at the time I did not see my dad a lot. My dad was a hardworking guy, and as a hardworking immigrant, he immigrated over here, and he was in restaurants, and that's kind of like everything started. You know, like he, with my uncles and my family, they all started working in restaurants, and it was long days, long hours. Pretty much we grew up in apartments and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, so that's pretty much the end for it.
You got that kind of hardworking, you kind of picked up the torch in a way that you became, because I know you as a very hard worker, hardworking man. Like that's who you are. That's part of who you are, right?
I try my best, and I try to look at work as something that it's not stressful. It's just like part of life, and it's my job to figure out how I'm gonna be the happiest guy at work. It's my job to figure out how I'm gonna be the person that is doing what they want to do. Because if I think that somebody else is gonna come and solve that problem for me, then I'm in a losing mentality. I'm not in control. I don't feel like I'm doing what I really want to do with my life. So anytime I feel like that, it's time to move on for me. It's time to get a change. It's time to go into either the next thing or whatever I'm feeling passionate about and really dive into that.
Can you speak on one of those big changes? Because one of those big changes we've talked about, and I'm curious to know more. I know that you've given me tips around cooking and certain ways to do that. So
yeah,
not even you, and you never even talk about, you know, you don't really look back and talk about what was, but I know that you were probably not only just a chef, but like a damn good chef and probably an amazing restaurant. And I'm curious what led you from being, you know, not just like a Michelin star chef or have your own restaurant versus, you know, shifting from there into what you do now. I'm curious what caused that shift or change.
Well, the biggest thing was for me was being a true servant, being a true person to what I'm doing. And like I said, I started in kitchens since I was 15, 16 years old as a part-time, worked my way up. I started as a dishwasher. I started in the bottom. I started as a dishwasher. And from there, I mean, it's not that I got promoted or anything. It's just how the kitchens work. You know, like you stick around and next thing you know, somebody doesn't show up and then you get thrown in pantry and then you start watching the grill guy until one day he's not longer working and they're like, well, we need a grill guy. And then you go into the grill and then you go into the saute station. And then eventually you work all the stations that the next thing to do is to become a sous chef. And then from there, you become a kitchen manager, executive, and then you start going in that world, right?
Does the phrase "let it rip" mean anything to you?
Let it rip. In what term? In the kitchen world?
There's the bear, that show, the bear.
Oh,
and he's like, "Let it rip," and it's very much like in the kitchen. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you know what? To be honest with you, I started watching that show, and yes, like I feel like a lot of that show, it really talks about what goes on in the kitchen, but not to the point where like 100% of that is true. I feel like in the kitchen, stronger relationships with the people who work around you, it's key, because you guys are working together 5 days and you guys are working long hour days. In my experience, like when I was working in this restaurant as a chef, I used to come in at 5:30 in the mornings to clean fish from 5:30 in the mornings to 11, that time that we open. By 11, I was already tired of cleaning all this fish, right? From there, I go do my paperwork. I come down, lunch has started, it's 2 p.m. By 4 p.m., I'm looking at dinner to set up dinner because dinner's coming, right? 6 p.m., I'm feeling tired. I want to go home. Night cook goes like, "Chef, where are you going? We're just getting started here." And I'm like, He does have a point. We're just getting started, but that was already 16 hours for me. That was already, so option A, go home to your family. Option B, stick around with the team. Which one are you going to do? If you're a family man, which one are you going to go with? Right? Often I was getting put in that position. Often I was either deciding on this or the other. And that's when I knew that I needed to make a change. That's when I knew that I can't live like this forever. I was in my 30s, you know, like, had been divorced. I've like, now I have a girlfriend. My girlfriend is telling me and advising me and just watching me work long hours and not getting anywhere, but seeking this career that is not taking me anywhere, right? And I'm like, you know what? Like, it's time to walk away from this. It's time to go and do something else that I don't know how to do. And potentially I'm going to fail at it. But I accepted the failure before I even did it. So before I even did it, I was already, in my mind, I already had the failure. So what was the worst thing that could happen, right? In between all that, it was only work, hope, and faith. And that was it. That was the recipe, right? One day at a time, not trying to do a week. I'm just doing one day at a time, like I'm doing right now, just one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time.
So for the person that is stuck in that job, they're experiencing burnout, but they can't leave it because they have a family and they just feel stuck. What do you tell that person?
Oof, that's a hard one. Have faith, figure it out. And remember, you guys are a team. You and your wife and your kids are a team. And at the dinner table or wherever, I use the dinner table because that's when we have dinner and we all gather. I like cooking for my family the most I can. And that's when all the announcements, that's when all the listening goes around. So if you guys can treat yourself like as a team and move as a team, I think that 16-hour job, or I think any other thing, it's not as important as spending time with your family and making sure that you're taking care of your family. Because often we want a better place to live in. We want better cars. We want more money, more this. But I mean, we forget about what is the main thing. The main thing is time with your family. Enjoy your family. Listen to your family. Don't miss those times. Don't put other things that are not as important as your family first, because you would not be happy with the result.
I'm hearing make the main thing the main thing.
Exactly.
I'm feeling, I don't know about Gene over here, but I'm feeling like I'm ready to like run through a wall with your, just, you have so much of a, it's like you somewhat soft spoken, but there's so much gravity and gravitas behind your words that I'm fired up right now. I just want to let you know.
I think it's the coffee.
Excuse me. My goodness. Well, you said 3 times, have faith. Have faith. I want to know what it looks like for you to have faith in your life. What does like your faith practice look like? What does it mean to have faith? You know, if I see Fred sort of having faith or your practice of faith, what is that? What would I observe if you were in the practice of or witnessing that?
Well, for me, it's faith is everything. And I practice that the most I can. And that goes by hand to hand with being grateful and always asking God for guidance. That's what I do every day. When I go on my runs, like you've seen, middle of my run, I stop, I pray, I ask God for guidance. Not in a lot of things. I don't like concentrating in a whole list of things, but every day I ask God for guidance on 2 things, and I'm grateful for 2 things every single day. I get on my knees in the middle of my run or middle of my workout, and I do that. That helps me get a lot of clarity and really put whatever is important in front of me for that day and go from there. I'm not trying to concentrate and fixing 1,000 things. I'm not thinking that without me, things are going to go to failure. Like I said, my family's a team. We all know where we are. We all know how to do the things around the house or at work or everything, so that no one in the family cannot cover the other person. And for me, that's everything. My faith is what keeps me going. Like knowing that God is walking with me every single day, either is a bad thing or a good thing, because I cannot get mad when things are not coming out with the result that I want. It's just simply, you're not getting the result. Be okay with it, move on, and keep working on it. Eventually you'll get it. Eventually things are going to happen.
And I personally experienced what you're speaking about, because I said, hey, Fred, I'd like to join you on a run. And we did a run, which was for you a very short run. We ran together, and you had my arms up in front of me, and you said, what are you fighting? And I visually went through like, what am I fighting at that moment? And it was really, really got that fire bubbling for me. And then a couple of days later, you said, well, I'm going to go on a long run. Now, if you look at your body, most people that are built like you, I don't expect them to do really long runs. I expect maybe somebody a lot thinner to do like a typical runner's body. You don't have that. So I was like, okay, well, how long is this run really going to be? And then, I don't think I've shared this with you, Gene, but I got on my bike while Fred was in his sneakers. Okay. That's the discrepancy of what was happening. I'm on my bike. Fred is running, and I'm on my bike, and we're going the same distance. Okay. And we went really far, let's say 5 to 6 miles straight, one direction. And we ran up the hill and we prayed.
We did.
And that was by far my favorite moment. I did not expect it. You didn't say it was going to happen. We just got up there and prayed first thing in the morning. And it was a real settling. It's something we have a practice of, to start this show off. We all pray together. We set the tone. We get connected. And that was my favorite part. And then, of course, we went back.
Yeah,
and, but what a moment! But that was it.
That was a great moment. And to go back onto that moment, like usually when I take people on a run with me, I never tell people how I run until they come and run with me. 2, when we're running, everything, it's in your mind. Everything should be as natural, because a lot of people will say that it's bad running for you. I think the human being, the body, is designed to run. I think if you take your time understanding, and you don't try to go up like from 0 to like being really fast on your first day, and you try just to figure out things slowly, speed, knowledge, sculpting your body, it's going to come with that. You get to point B, and you're grateful for that. Now, from B and going back to where you started, that's fun, because now you know that you did the hardest thing of your day. Now, picture the sun coming out. You're already 5-6 miles in. The sun has not even come out, and you're waiting for the sun to come out as you're praying. You feel the light of the sun touching your forehead. It's like God is speaking to you. It's like, that's no comparison. And the thing is, there's not a lot of public to witness that, right? But now you finish your run. Now you start serving people, right? The hardest thing of your day, it's already out the door. I'm not thinking, what time am I going to go work out? Am I going to work out? Am I going to do this? What is going to happen? No, the hardest thing of my day has already been done. I'm lucky if I get another session in that day. I'm lucky, because most of the times I'm always aiming to get a second session, which is going to the gym, and going to the gym to really attack my body in a smart way, not in a way where I'm trying to go and hurt my body, and I'm not going to be able to work for the next 3-4 days. So now if I'm lucky, I'm going to get a second session, and that second session is just like the icing on the cake. It's like, all right, we're going to perfect this and we're going to make it better. Either it's a second session to recover from the run, or to push weights or something, just to make it more exciting and better. And usually that's a golden ticket right there. Yeah.
Goodness, man.
Yes, sir.
Oh, the golden ticket.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm hearing things like, again, like the adversity of your dad passing, and you stepping into really being like that hard worker that you are. The shifting from understanding there's burnout happening, I want to switch into something where I can actually be family first. and have a job and a career that can do that. The fire at which and the faith you bring to your runs and how meaningful they are. And I'm curious. I read something recently that I want to read to you.
Yeah.
And then I want to hear your response.
All right.
Okay. And it's around the topic of what God has created you to be, like your birthright. Like, why are you here? And I imagine we all ask that question at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe some of us in our 20s, probably most of us more like 40s, 50s, 60s, deathbed. Like, why was I here? Did I do a good job? Those kind of things. I have a pretty good idea that you've sort of done a little bit of that soul searching within. I'm going to read something. It's really short. It's from a rabbi, and I think I'm pronouncing this right, Zusia. Rabbi Zusia. Rabbi Zusia said this: in the coming world, they will not ask me, why were you not Moses? They will ask me, why were you not Zusia? Or in your case, why were you not Fred? So when I hear that, I simply hear, like, what's a birthright gift from God that you may have ignored, or maybe that you fully stepped into, right? And when he references in the coming world, that basically means, like, when I get to heaven, they're not going to say, why were you not like Moses or Jesus or something? Why were you not Fred, right? Why were you not Adam? And I'm curious if you feel like you're sort of stepped into what you've been called for, and or what's a birthright gift from God that you may have ignored.
That I've ignored. Let me see.
Keep this real surface.
Let me see if I'm understanding correctly. But what I understand, it's what is something that I was born with that I didn't acknowledge until I became Fred. Is that where you're pretty much
something that, like, sort of like a gifting from God that, like, you're starting to tap into and go, oh, I haven't fully explored that yet. Or maybe you have, and maybe you're in the pocket right now. And maybe, like, I'm doing what I'm called to do. I know that.
Got it. I think serving my community, and making a lot of connections with the community that I am, because I find the results with the community that I want. So I feel like that's something that maybe I didn't know I had in me, where I've connected maybe a lot more people to come together, and I feel like that it's something that I didn't know I had.
So that's a gifting of yours.
Yes.
And how right now, because you're building a beautiful community, you know, I'll be driving on a Sunday morning and I'll see all these runners outside your coffee shop, Gitana, Hermosa Beach.
Yeah.
Shout out. And you have the logo, I think, on your hat.
Yeah. Community logo. Yeah.
Yeah. What makes, I'm curious, like, what you value in building community, and how have you built it so far?
Well, I think it's everything. I think community, it's everything for people, because what you always need help. Number one, you always need help. When you do something, you never do it alone. For me, I think often we say, I did that, this and that. But in my opinion, I just don't think that anyone ever does something alone. You always get help from someone. Even the motivation you're getting, it's from someone, So number one, that's you never get to do something alone. You always need or have the help from someone, support, call it, name it, whatever you want. Two, I feel like, when sometimes your mom wants to cook for you and you're like, no, I'm okay, and you're like, no, mom, don't worry about it. But deep inside of you, you're like, oh, I wish my mom was cooking for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing with your community, right? Sometimes your community wants to take care of you and you're like, no, I'm good. Like you don't want to, you just want to show the perfect world, right? Now, when you open up to your community and the community knows your needs, they know who you are, you're authentic, and they know you're true to yourself, then they help you and you help them back. You help them back.
I experienced that personally in a big way when I tore my ACL meniscus and I had surgery, and I was back in my hometown and people came out to support. But I also received that sort of neighborhood support, and I didn't feel comfortable receiving it when we had our twin boys 7 months ago, and we were sort of just drowning, and people were bringing food. They were bringing food and dropping it off on the doorstep. And I felt like this is like 1950s or something. And I was weirdly like, I don't feel comfortable, but we needed like rides to the hospital. We needed to like not think of food and clean up. So actually having my chicken maison was dropped off on the front door, and I was like, oh, thank you. And it was incredible. But I remember feeling uncomfortable. And I had done some of that work in like the receiving, and as men, sometimes it's hard to receive, but like I had done that work, but it was an opportunity to do it again. And I remember thinking, man, I have a lot more work to do in this kind of community receiving part of self. So that brings me to this idea of like identity. Because, when I hurt my knee, there was a new identity. Like I wasn't like Adam, the movement guy. I was more like Adam, the meditation, prayer, cerebral guy, because I couldn't move. My knee was shattered. And then when I became a dad, or even moving from the East Coast to West Coast, was an identity shift. And then becoming a dad, and then a dad of 3. Oh, big identity shifts. And I'm just curious, some of the stuff we talked about.
And that happened real quick.
Real quick.
Real quick.
And it happened real quick. 3 under 3 happens fast. And we're still sort of getting our breath. We're still coming up for air. Daisy and I are still finding moments to like look at each other and connect and finding those moments. And I've gone through this sort of identity shifts throughout this process of the last, call it 6 years or so. And I'm wondering about like anything that kind of, that you can speak on around that kind of identity shifts and what you've sort of learned about yourself in that shifting of identity. And maybe even, I don't want to ask question on question on question, but 1, identity, 2, a learning of the identity shifts, and maybe a kind of like, where are you at right now with that?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. And, I feel like one of those things was like, back of the house, right? That's a term that we use in kitchens, which means you're working in the kitchen. And then, now I'm in the operations, right? Now I'm the one serving people. Now I'm the one talking to people. And you know what? I didn't know I love it so much. I didn't know that I was going to find a lot of pleasure in making coffee for every person that comes into the coffee shop, because I mean, it's family. And every time I have the opportunity to pull a shot for someone, make a coffee for them, for me, it's like the end destination is to make sure that they walk away happy, but then at least get to know their names or something, because they're in the community, they're in the demographic, they're the ones who make the shop. And learning that, it was very, very satisfying. It was like shifting that identity where like I was a chef. Now, I don't know what my term is, but I would want to call it barista / coffee shop owner, because I'm still learning how to be an owner. I'm a new owner, like, and there's so many things that come with that, like that you have to learn. You have to learn how to do new things that you've never done before. I mean, in my world, I was in charge of doing payroll before and everything, but never cutting checks, never having a CPA, never having all these legal terms that you have to have a business. Learning as I go and having this new identity where like I was like, okay, so I'm not this Fred anymore. This is the new Fred. And you know what? I like this Fred better because it shows me more character, because every decision I take, if it's not thinking of the whole team, it could affect them. It's just not only about me and my family anymore. It's about a whole team, a whole family that comes to the shop. If we don't do our research with the coffee, we don't do our research with our pastry program, or like and if nothing it's meaningful, people are gonna know that. They're gonna learn that pretty quick, and they're just not want to come back to your coffee shop or be in your community, right? So number one for us is make sure that we have excellent product, like we say diamonds, right? So that people don't have to question that. And then people come because they want to see you, because they want to be part of what you're building, right? I've had a lot of people that come because we do a lot of pop-ups. We're like an extension for other people, so other people can learn about their businesses through our business. So I love that. I love when somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, yo, you know, like, I'm a personal trainer. Can I host a class? Let's do it. Hey, we've done even runs with the Hermosa Police Department where like everybody's jumping on board and we're like, all right, cool, let's go for a run with the cops, because our cops are not like other cops. You know, our cops are going the extra mile to put the example out there for I'm not saying for other communities or things, but I know that these guys are invested in their community. They come to the shop, they go to other businesses, their approach is pretty nice, and they're always open for questions, and I love that about it.
You're saying Hermosa police are better than any other police? No.
For me, yes.
God, Fred, you said, and I like this. You're talking about identity and shifting from a chef to a coffee shop owner / barista, and you're like, and I like this new me.
Yes.
That's cool.
That's
cool. A big deal. You kind of subtly just threw that in there. And I want to make sure that we just put a little highlight on that. The fact that like, and I like this new me, because I imagine there's a lot of identity shifts that every person that's listening and watching, I'm curious, and maybe you can write this in the comments right now. Like, what identity are you in right now, right? Where have you gone from where to where? And the people listening and watching, they know, oh yeah, I'm in a new identity. And it's like, the question is, do I like this new identity? And I'm not sure if I know it, not everyone's going to say, yes, I like that new identity, but it's like, there is a new identity. How do we step fully into it? Right? What do we do to step fully into it? And you've really embraced this new Fred, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, of course the other part's still there, but like, you've really embraced it by bringing just all the community and building your team and stepping into a kind of a new leadership position too.
Yeah. And you know, like, I love it. In the beginning, when the shop wasn't, like, when we just opened the shop, it was just me and my wife working the shop, from start to finish for the first year. I won't say for the first year, like, no help whatsoever. And the way we made up for our costs was that our neighbors started hiring us for private dinners. And I was cooking for the neighborhood, and they knew that we needed help, and we knew we needed help, and they were just there to help us. They were just there, like, hey, so we hear you're a chef. Will you be interested in doing a dinner at our house? We have a party. Say less, I'm there. Or sometimes I'll be like, I know that you looking for a chef, you know, I'm right here, like, blah, blah, blah. Let's get this going. And then people will be doing recommendations to another people. And then it just started going until more people were learning about the shop. Now we are where we are. And it's been a really nice journey. Yeah.
Can you tell me something about coffee that you think most people don't know?
Well, your brain loves coffee. It's a brain stimulant, and like they say, life starts after you drink coffee.
Yeah, you know, you have a slogan along with that one. Something about I think I read it on your website or Instagram. Something around, you have a slogan. Something about like,
yeah, take 5 minutes to drink your coffee in the coffee shop. Coffee is meant to share stories and be present. Yeah. Right.
I love that. I remember reading something like that, and then it made me want to sit with my coffee and just say, okay, I'm going to take 5 minutes to just sit with this.
Yeah.
And be present to this cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And that felt really good.
Yeah. And we embrace not having stuff in our coffee shop. I just want to make that clear. Sometimes people are like, oh, how come you don't have straws? Oh, how come you don't have this? And in the beginning, we were fighting to have all these things where they're supposed to be. But then thinking about it and being smart about it, I'm like, well, we're next to the beach, and these cups are gonna end up where? I feel like
Basically on the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great location.
Yeah, and as much as I love my community, I want to help contribute to my community, and I want to make sure that not because people are asking for things, I'm gonna get them there, which was kind of like our first mistake, trying to get everything that's required to have, like straws, plastic straws, all these things. Now we're always give people a discount when they bring their mug, because there's nothing better than making a coffee in a mug and drinking a coffee out of your mug. Cups tend to have wax, tend to have all these things that mess the flavors of the coffee. Regardless of what cup you're using, it's coming from a factory.
10-15% or something when you bring your own mug?
Yeah, we with discount, what's our cost, which is like 50 cents.
Yeah.
So that's what with discount, and then we get very happy knowing that you brought your cup. And sometimes people like me, I have like 3 different mugs that I use to drink my coffee, because I just love the way it fits in my hand, how I drink it. I get to get my coffee, and then I go to the beach, and with time you become a coffee reader, you become a wave reader too. You know, every day you go look at the waves and you're like, oh, the waves are not making sound today. Oh, the waves are looking different. Oh, today they're aggressive. So, I mean, that's another part of my day where I'm like 5 minutes to go look at the beach and to really like think about my day and stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I started getting and purchasing a cortado from you guys. I started really loving the richness of that flavor. It's not straight espresso, but just 2 ounces of milk or something?
Yeah, it's 50-50. So it's 50% coffee, 50% milk, same ratio to it. And then it's a pretty small drink. It's a cortado, means cut. It's a word in Spanish. It means just cut with milk. And yeah.
Oh, see, I love that, cut with milk.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions here.
Sure.
And I'm curious, we talk about a little bit about adversity. And one of the themes of this show is around a mentor gifted me this beautiful slogan of find your center, and that life is all about finding your center, Adam. So I'd like to name that as like, how do you find your center? And another way to say that is like, how do you find alignment, right? When your head's spinning, family thing happens, business thing happens, that's hard. How do you get back to like center? How do you get back to alignment? What's a way in which you do that?
Well, that's a good question also. The way I think about it is like, the problem's going to be there, right? And you're going to be facing throughout your life many, many problems, right? And how do I find my center? I find my center by not running away from the problem, looking at the problem. And sometimes I break down the problem into 3 different problems. Now, instead of having one big problem, I have 3 different problems. But my center comes from knowing that everybody in my family is taken care of, and knowing that my wife is next to me. And I go and find my center. From there, allocation, and now not like, sometimes it's not resisting the hesitation, but like not listening to the hesitation, because then that's gonna prevent you from what we talked about, getting the adversity away, right? Because sometimes like you want to run away from the adversity, right? Because you think that it's going to fade away, it's going to disappear, or it's not longer going to be there. No, it's going to be there waiting for you. Until you find your center, you're going to be able to learn how to break that down, learn how to get it out of the way, learn how to like become bigger obstacles, because your center is good. And finding your center is as simple as being happy with who you are and with the people around you, right?
And you mentioned keeping your wife close to you. What do you mean by that?
Close to you. I mean,
for you, yeah. For
me, my wife. When I think about my wife, I think about my wife and myself. We're one person. That's how I think about us. We like, out of respect, and everything. I just want to do everything with her because we're a team. So imagine you being in a business with your partner, right? and you're making decisions without consulting with your partner. It's the same way in your relationship. Same thing. You have to be as transparent as possible with your partner. They have to know everything about you. You have to know everything about them. You're one person. You guys are working for the same cause, right? Now, if you guys are showing resistance and that's leading your relationship, and you guys are always pointing out, well, you guys should be doing better, then you guys should maybe practice more of getting together as a team, right? But once you know that you're happy with that person, you committed to that person, and you're true to yourself, the feeling of acceptance, it's much bigger, and all you want to do is make sure that you're doing the best that you can to have a fulfilled life with your family and your wife. Because at the end of the day, when you close your door in your house, that's what matters most to you. And I mean, to me, I don't know about other people, but to me, that's what matters the most. When I close my door and I know that my family is there.
Yeah. God. Hey, I have so much respect for you. And
thank you.
Really
Me
want
too.
you to know that.
No, me too.
I love listening to the way you think.
Thank
I love
you.
listening to what's important to you. I love listening to why it's important to you. I love hearing your rants around Kobe Bryant and how he kind of inspires you, and you take that Mamba mentality. I love all of it.
Oh my God, Kobe Bryant.
Just riff on Kobe for a second.
Kobe's actually the guy that used to say that, like, wake up, go get a session, go back home, spend time with your kids, eat breakfast, go for another session, come back, be present, and end up with another session. Now, I don't do things like that because I'm not an athlete, right? I'm not getting paid to be an athlete, but if I can get my second session in, then oh my God, golden ticket, right? And I started looking up to characters like this, where like when they were never talking about the problems or how hard it was, or like feeling sorry for themselves and stuff like that. I looked up to people who figure it out. They were there working, quiet, showing results. Only they knew why they were doing things the way they were doing it, not questioning the way they were doing it. And to me, like, oh my God, Kobe Bryant is like amazing human being. From every aspect you look at him, from family to being a leader to like work ethic. I mean,
his ability to show up every day 4 times, because I remember
be
that
present
clip about showing up literally 4 2-3 hour segments.
Yes, sir.
And saying at the end of it, no matter who you are, no matter how great you are as a rookie, you'll never catch me because I have compounded so much time, because he allocates all that time. And that's what you're speaking of. And I love your version of that, which is,
yes,
I'm not a pro NBA player, but I'm going to do it in the morning. And if I can get a second, I'm just on top of the world.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because I recall one time telling you, you always have to be ready for business. Always ready for business. Meaning, I don't believe a lot in terms where are like bulking, cutting. I don't believe in that. I just don't. I simply don't. I feel like once you start working out, you should never stop. And it's nothing to do with like how aggressive you are with your workouts. It's just, for me, it's more about consistency and showing up. Consistency and showing up, right? And then it's like, as we get older, the amplifier that we have to be tuning, it just gets bigger. Like new things keep getting added to it, like injuries, like not being able to use your knee, your Achilles. But you have to be smart on learning how you're going to be working around those injuries, right? So that's just another thing to be tuning in your amplifier, right? So now you got the eating, you got the running, you got the lifting, you got the sleeping, you got the not stressing out. You got all these things that you have to be pretty much watching and observing, because they're what will make you or break you, right?
I heard you say a new thing, and like the different new things. And my family we were sick all of February. January was still overwhelmed from having the twin boys. So this is March. We're recording this in March. Hopefully we'll release this in March. Yeah. Maybe. But I'm looking at March right now as like January. I'm like, it's like the beginning of the year. And oftentimes in the beginning of any year, or at least the first quarter for sure, oftentimes we're like, well, what's the thing I'm going to do to have the most successful year? And I like to sort of flip that and think of, we probably don't have to add anything. A pastor friend of mine said, Pastor Joel LaBelle said, grow your no to bless your yes. And so it's sort of like, it's less about adding more stuff to your plate. Oftentimes it's about just getting rid of something.
Yeah.
Or getting clear on a boundary that you have to say no to something. And I'm curious in this year of 2025, and it's still somewhat new, if there's something that you've sort of taken off your plate so you can rise more this year, or another way to say that would be if there's something that you have to say no to so that you can say yes to something better.
Yeah, I think, like I said, like being a new business owner and learning a lot about hiring, firing, getting business partners, and understanding how a business works. I think that's been the biggest challenge or that we have to face. And not saying that it's hard or anything. It's just like the learning and like you said, when we add something and we have to get rid of something, for me, it'd be like delegating and letting go of the fear that things are not going to be okay.
Yeah. So you have to delegate because you'll run yourself again into the ground if you just do everything.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that. It'll be back to your chef days.
And that's what I said. It's like, once you train your family and then they know what you're doing because you're fully transparent, then there's no hiding. So everybody knows. So delegation, it's easier because now it's not one person, right? Now like it happens in my family, it's like, let's say 4 people. So now 4 people know the same thing, right? So now it's delegating is going to be a little bit easier for me because now I'm just trying to, hey, I need help with this. I need help with this. I need help with this. I need help with this.
We just like, let's just say it together. Like, I need help with this.
I need help with this.
As men, Gene, can you say it too? 1, 2, 3. I need help with this.
I need help with this.
Honestly, like say it with us, please. Like, I need help with this. That's something that men and women, we just don't do well as a society. And there aren't a lot of safe places or even safe people where I'm sure many people feel like they can bring that statement to, so it'd be interesting. It's like maybe first it starts with your significant other, or maybe your mom or your dad or a best friend, maybe a therapist,
someone,
safe space,
someone that you trust, someone that you trust. It might not even be in your family circle, right? Might be a close friend. It might be a stranger, like, I've had experiences where like, customers come in, I don't know them, and they just start unfolding. Either their life story, who they are, hard things they've been in life, things like that. And great stories, great stories. But like you said, not a lot of people are open these days. They have the fear of sharing their stories. They have the fear of being rejected. They have fear of not being accepted of who they are and stuff like that. But I just want to tell you, there's a community for you out there. There's people for you out there that are waiting for your friendship. The only thing that they're missing is your friendship. The only thing that they're missing is yourself. That's it.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. There's a book called What I Think About When I Think About Running. And I'm curious, when you're running, what do you think about?
Well, that's a good question. When I run, I don't run to be fit. I don't run to be skinny or anything. I run because running is hard. Running is very, very hard.
I just love you.
You know? So like putting the mind into something that is hard for you and pretty much like making it go because you say so, right? So now if you cannot even like, how do I say this? If you cannot even like be accountable for yourself, how are you gonna be accountable for other people? How are you gonna like go through the stress for other people, right? So for me, that's self-love. For me, like making sure that I'm like going and doing what I know that is best for me, although my subconscious is telling me like, no, stop, don't do that. No, maybe we run tomorrow. Maybe it's not a good idea. No, your knees are gonna hurt. No, your hips are gonna be bad. No, don't run like that. No. So I shift my mentality and now we're like in game on. Okay, we're gonna start this run and it's not about going fast. It's not about like being the fastest out there or like, it's about warming up, getting to your warm up. From there, you're gonna figure out how you're gonna get to point B using all your energy in your body, right? Legs, quads, hamstrings, biceps, back, shoulders, neck, everything. This part of your face generates. It's the only part of your face that keeps generating. And you can actually you can how do I say change the way your face looks just by the way you breathe. So if you find different ways on how you breathe, your face is gonna start looking different. But for me, it's like being under pressure. It's everything. Being under pressure, like feeling that lack of air, not being able to breathe, using my lungs, everything. I love that. And I love being under that fire for at least an hour where like I know that the only thing pushing is my will, where it's just like one more step. Let's go. You got this. Fight it. Now I use a lot of the mentality of the boxers. And I'm like, what if I was in round number 6 and the bell was ringing and I got to come to this round? What am I going to say? No, hold up. Like, let me get some rest. No, I got to be ready for it. So now I want to be training so that I know that I at least can have a stamina, endurance for an hour.
So I'm hearing you say, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I heard you say that you run. You want to be under fire for an hour.
Yeah, at minimum, yeah.
And you want to do that because it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
because it builds the will,
Mm-hmm.
your will, so that when you are with your wife or family or loved ones, that like you also have the ability to show up for them because things get hard.
Things get very hard.
So that putting yourself under a hard circumstance there prepares you for the hard thing that you know inevitably is coming.
It's coming.
So the fire drill, you're prepared for the fire drill.
Always be ready.
Because you've been doing the work.
Yeah. The running part, it's an uncomfortable position where you don't want to be, but it's my job to figure it out how I'm going to get to that destination. And yeah, it takes time. It's boring and ugly. But now if you did something like that your subconscious was telling you you're not capable of doing every single time you go for those runs, because every single time you go for that run, that subconscious always kicks in until you become really good at ignoring it. You just like, even though it's screaming to you, you're like, we're still going, because this is what we do. You put on the shoes, you're starting to run and your subconscious is still going like, hey, what are you doing? No, maybe we just run a mile today. You're like, no, bro, we're just going to get all the way over there and we're going to come back and we're going to do it. We're going to be grateful and we're going to ask for guidance. That's what we're doing today.
Last question. We're bringing this to a close. Part of this show has been this concept of fumbling through fatherhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the word fumbling because, and I'm sort of say it for myself, because I realize before becoming a dad, I want to do everything well. I want to do everything excellent. And part of I discovered for myself and when I talk to other dads, that part of being a good dad is actually just like rolling with the punches. Like if I miss my workout, you know what? I'm going to go after it tomorrow though. I'm not just going to like wait till next month, right? Or wait till Monday. I missed it today. Something happened. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And that's sort of like fumbling.
Yeah.
Or let's call it letting go, or maybe even call it surrendering to the fact that you couldn't get your workout in today. So you show up the next day. I'm curious as a dad, when you talk about like fumbling through fatherhood, what's something that that you have to sort of surrender to when it comes to fatherhood? Something that you like fumble with, but you pick up the ball. You don't get stuck there.
Well, first of all, I want to say and express how grateful I am and to be a dad. I think that's one of the best things that happened in my life, and by far, my kids have teach me my biggest lessons. And like you said, yes, roll with the punches, because you don't have a perfect scenario, or you would never have a perfect scenario if you're thinking you're going to be in control. So I would say don't try to be in control of everything. And yeah, sometimes we're going to have to focus more on having fun and being present for your kids, like actually listening to your kids. And when I say being present, it's like get involved with your child, with your kid, because for the first 10 years of their lives, 12, I want to say, you are their biggest hero. There's no one that they look up to that it's not you. I want to put it like that. Everything you do, it's like for them, it's an example. So even now, the things that I do now, it's an example for my kids, so that in the future, my delegating for them, it's not going to be as much, because I'm trying to be a leader where it's like, this is just what we do, and this is how we attack it, and this is how you don't get stuck and stuff like that. But I want to say food, it's one of the things that really does it for us. Where we cook in the house a lot, but there are days where hey, you know what? Today we're going to have fun with the food, and we're going to eat some carbs, and we're going to eat some real good food. So
it's really good. It's good for me as I'm a newer dad than you are. You've been a dad longer than me, and I can tend to want to have some sense of control over certain situations, and I can get frustrated. And I'm learning through great examples like yourself and other friends that I have, that it's like, hey, for example, have some fun with food, right? But also have fun. I get the be present thing, but I can still be present with control. So it's be present and playful.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that makes a difference. Because if not, I just end up getting frustrated. So that's really helpful for me to hear.
Kids are very smart, Kids are smart. Kids because they're little, and because we often think they don't have the experience, or they haven't seen the scenario before, it doesn't mean that they don't know what's going on. So as adults, trying to hide things from your kids and stuff like that, I mean, I don't think it's the best thing. I think it's always best to be very open with your kids and understand either if their learning capacities are there, if they're not. Because one thing that I was getting frustrated with my kid one time, it was because in school he was not engaging with the knowledge. So I was getting frustrated, and I'm like, hey, what's going on in school? How come we're not getting the grades that we should be getting, and this was a very hard conversation, because I had to sit down with my teenager, and he's telling me that, you know what, the way they're teaching me in school right now, it makes no sense for me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? You go to a school where 3,000 students go to, and I'm pretty sure other kids are figuring it out, right? But now, let me take a step back and really think about what you just told me. Now, all right, what can I do to help you? Dad, I just don't like it. I don't like the way things are getting explained to me. I don't like this. I don't like that. Okay, all right, got it. Copy that. You know what? Maybe this high school is not for you. maybe this is not the school that you should be attending. So what happened? I moved my kid to a different high school. Why? Because I care about my kid and I want him to be comfortable on the way he's learning, because he might not have control on how the classes are being. But we do have control on how we can make things better for them. So if that option is not working for him and he had found the courage to tell me and be open about the real problem, and I didn't try to convince him otherwise, he was like, Dad, thank you. Thank you for moving me in schools. Thank you for doing that for me. Now I'm getting the attention that I needed. Now I feel like I'm moving forward, and it's all thanks because you listen. And I'm like, thank you.
Great job listening, brother.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Where can people drop in on you and say hi to you, maybe socially, but if they're actually in California and they're in especially Southern California, where do they go to get a cup of coffee? Can you just plug?
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, if you would love to come and get a coffee, we're waiting for you at Gitana Cafe, 2600 Hermosa Avenue, Hermosa Beach, California. We carry a different selection of coffees from gold to dark roast. And come and enjoy your coffee while you walk through the strands of Hermosa. It'll be nice to serve you guys.
And where can they find you, social media and stuff like that?
Social media, it'll be, this is a community brand that started out of the coffee shop. I created a coffee to thinking back and reintribute back to my hometown back in Mexico, Durango, Mexico, right? And it started like that. And this was the logo of the coffee till people started asking for merch. So we started making some merch, and now people were starting, oh, you should carry this, or you should make it into this color and everything. So we started making everything that the community started asking for, to the point now that this became a community brand, and it has this website is called elalacrandorado.com. So if you guys want to go on there and purchase your hat and feel part of Hermosa Beach, California, feel more than welcome. And thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you for saying yes. Thank you for making a difference. As I like to turn to you and share the words of my mom when she left our house every day, and she would look at me and say, hey, honey, go make a difference. So I just want to turn it over to you and say, get out there, make a difference, and see you soon.